Well, good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this morning for our webinar today, How to Win More Jobs and Increase Profits. My name is Troy Guevara, and I'm a construction technologist here with Digitek Solutions. Before we get started, I just want to go over a couple housekeeping items. Audio will be available through your computer speakers, or if you've called in, it'll be available via your phone. All attendees have been muted for a clean listening experience. This session will be recorded, and the recording will be sent to you tomorrow, so you can distribute that at your leisure with others in your office that may find this information valuable. If you've not done so already, please maximize your screen to take full advantage of the screen real estate. You may submit questions through the webinar dashboard on either the questions tab or the chat tab. We will address those questions at the end of the presentation. And then will you please participate in the survey at the end of the presentation? It will automatically load when I wrap things up. And then of course, we're gonna go through some slides, and then we're gonna talk about Sage Estimating and eTakeoff. I won't go into a lot of detail on that just because it's so robust and there's so many variations. So I want to invite anybody, if you want a custom demo, we can arrange those for your specific needs. All right, so as I said, my name I'm a construction technologist here at Digitek Solutions, and since selling my own construction business about 10 years ago, I have been in the construction software world, helping implement companies and helping them to improve their construction systems. And I've had the opportunity to work with literally thousands of companies to improve their processes, to upgrade software systems, to increase their productivity and their profitability. So let's go ahead and get started today. I want to talk about today's agenda. We're going to start with the bid environment today. We're going to take a good look at how things are right now. I know things have changed in the past few weeks, continue to be the same, and we don't see too big of a dip or too big of a hit on the construction industry. We have a dependence in the construction industry in general on spreadsheets, but especially when it comes to estimating. And then we're going to talk about the roles of project manager versus estimator, and sometimes there's a divide between those two. There is a bidding mentality we want to talk about. It's called the shotgun effect, and I'm going to discuss that in depth. And then from that, I'm going to go into these 5 strategies for better bidding. After that, we'll take a quick overview of Sage Estimating, and then I'll handle any Q&A that you may have for me today. So let's go ahead and get into this. The bidding environment today is kind of one of this. You know, I know back when we were bidding a lot of work, we started off with the mentality: do you bid more to win more? Does this really work, right? And then we thought, okay, do we really know what it costs us to bid one project? And it depends on the size of the company. If you're a smaller company, maybe it's just your own personal time. If you're a medium-sized company, it might cost you a couple grand. I've got a good friend of mine, and he figures every time they bid a job, they spend about 30 grand to win a job. Now, recognize that's a $40 million project they're winning, but the point is it's pretty expensive. So they need to know that they're bidding the right jobs and if it's profitable. And then the other part that's really important, especially if you're a smaller contractor, is do you have the manpower? Do you have the manpower? Can you man up as you need to? Can you get that manpower in place to move forward, to fill that backlog? There's always pricing concerns. There's market volatility, the trade wars going on, and I should have added to this the Corona issue happening right now. How has that affected things? And then last minute bids. For me, that was always one of those, okay, somebody wants to bid really fast. I got to put something together. Did I get everything? And there's always that issue of, one, did I cover everything? And one, did I charge too much? And what I mean by that is, was my number so high they didn't even consider me? So, you know, being able, how quickly can I get a bid done without it being inaccurate, right? And then here's a big one: is do we really know our job costs? And what I mean by that is a lot of companies are really good at bidding jobs and knowing that they get the job, and so they continue to bid using those numbers. But are they really getting those job cost numbers and bringing them back to the office so they know what it's really costing them to run that job? And of course, with all of this, there's liability and risk. There's a lot of things in life that you can make mistakes on, and those mistakes, you know, you can overcome them. Bidding is one of those areas that if you make a mistake, it could cost you your business if you do it wrong. So it's really important that we assess our risk, and we know that when we bid a project, we're going to make money on that project. Now, this is an interesting statistic. 9 out of 10 spreadsheets have some sort of error. It could be just a bad formula. It could be an input mistake, human error, whatever. The point is that we have this over dependence on estimating spreadsheets. And I'm not telling you that we need to get away from spreadsheets. What I'm telling you is that we need to find a way to eliminate the errors. And so the question is how do we do that, right? How much are these errors really costing you? Sometimes we don't even know we've made these mistakes. We don't even know these errors exist. And so we don't know how that affects our bottom line. And then I want to talk about this piece here as we get into these 5 ideas to bid better, is this division that occurs between the office and the field. It's also a division that occurs between the project manager and the estimator. Now, some offices, the project manager and the estimator are the same person. Some offices, they're different. And every company I've been in slightly different on this, but I've been in some where the project manager and estimator are kind of at odds, and I've been in some where they work together really closely so that they can bring numbers back and forth. And that's the idea here. But really the bigger issue here is that we have accounting on one side and we have operations on the other, and the two are not the same. I've got another seminar I teach about this great divide that exists right here, and that's what I do call this, is I call this the great divide, about how the accounting office, we try and run projects or operations using the accounting mentality, and that's not the right mentality. Well, the same thing applies here in this world. Is we got a project manager, we have an estimator, and they do live in 2 different worlds, because the estimator should be at least bidding off of previous projects and where those numbers came in, but they don't necessarily always do that. So I'm going to take us through this. So let's talk about some of the problems that are caused by this great divide that we have here. The first one, you have a limited visibility for project managers. Project managers might be in the office and they can't see what's happening out of the field, or more importantly, they're not getting data all the time. So they don't have the response to the urgent job site needs that exist. There's a heavy dependence on paper reporting. Not that paper reports are bad, but maybe we're not getting those reports as often as we need, and we're waiting for somebody to process those reports, so we don't get the data like we need it. And then, of course, we've all seen this. There's the discrepancies between the job site conditions and what the plans and specs dictate. And so we have that point at the job where we stop, or has to be a change of some sort to overcome those job site conditions, okay? And then, of course, there's always the issue with difficulty managing manpower. Now, what I mean by that is if the office is not seeing what's happening every day in the field, then it's really difficult to manage the manpower. And once we manage the manpower, which is our labor number, right, that's when we begin to get the most profitable, because the number one variable we have on any project is our labor. So we need to learn to master that. And again, this is often caused because we have that poor communication between the field and the office, which makes it difficult to react to changing conditions which exist out there. Now, I want to share this statistic, and I think it's interesting. This was from 2 years ago. There is a $177.5 billion loss because we're spending labor on non-optimal activities. And what I mean by that is, it's these type of activities. We're spending 5.5 hours looking for product data and information. We're spending almost 5 hours dealing with conflicts on the job site. And we're spending almost 4 hours a week, this is per individual, dealing with mistakes and rework, okay? And that's costing us a little bit more than 35% of our employees' time. And on average, 52% of all the rework results from poor data and miscommunication. And so when we take that into the estimating world, this is what I want to address, is we have this shotgun effect, this mentality where if I just bid a whole bunch of jobs, I'm going to eventually get one. And we have to get away from that mentality. We have to separate ourselves from the competition, because if everybody's out there bidding everything they can, just hoping they're low to get the job, we're not only are we not making as much money as we can, but our competition isn't either, right? So we need to know what projects we want to bid, and we shouldn't just bid everything in hopes of getting a win. We need to find a new strategy to that, because really at the end, our construction company is not going to survive in a low bid competitive environment. We have to find a new way. And so I want to talk about these 5 strategies for better bidding here. Okay, so let's start. The first one is we have to use technology to develop good data. And what I mean by that is that we have to start with a core accounting system. And that accounting system has to include some sort of job costing. And I'm not talking QuickBooks type job cost. I'm talking about something more robust, something that will really get us the data we need so we can identify where our labor numbers are, where our material costs are going, and where our production is. And from that, we can expand that out to the project side. Now, let me share with you this, is the right accounting software will enable you to have all of these different types of reports. You don't need to utilize all these, but the right accounting system is going to give you that flexibility if you need to, or it will allow you to grow into it. And the right accounting system will allow you to grow from 2 million to 150 million without having to change systems. There are accounting systems out there that are construction specific that do this. There are accounting systems out there that are not construction specific. They add some job costing and they sell to a lot of companies. A lot of businesses use them, but they're not the right type of software for a construction company. Now, beyond that, the same type of accounting system makes it possible so that you can do project management in a third party. You can do estimating in a third party. You have superior reporting products. You have mobile field reporting, mobile timekeeping. All of those types of solutions become available. And then in addition to this core accounting piece, the second part is having some sort of project management software, whether it's within that accounting system or separate. There has to be a direct connection between the two. And the reason this is so important is because we have to be able to get the data from the field to the office in the blink of an eye. And what I mean by that is it's real-time data. If we have to wait a week for numbers to come in from the office, or if we have to wait for invoices to come on concrete tickets before we can put them into our accounting system, then it's too late for us to be able to react. We need to be able to have a project manager that can see what yesterday's numbers were this morning when he comes into work, he or she comes into work. And so that project management software is essential in this piece. Now, in addition to that, I highly recommend you take advantage of estimating software. And this estimating software should be the type of software that's going to fully integrate a takeoff system, as well as it's going to integrate into your accounting system, okay? It has to have a database that's easily configurable. And what I mean by that is, does it know what your labor numbers are based on crew, based on individual project managers, superintendents? Does it know what your, is it easy to, when you have a price change, is it easy just to do a couple clicks to update prices? Whether it's a 5% price change across the board, or whether it's different items just change price. Does it have the ability to do that, okay? A good estimating software makes it easy to slice and dice the information. You shouldn't have to create 400 different spreadsheets to create 400 different views of your bid. If you have the right estimating software, you can, with the click of a mouse, be able to slice and dice that information and extrapolate it in any manner that you want. And probably more important is that estimating software, once it integrates with your accounting project management system, it's got to be able to grow with you. So a lot of companies will buy a very inexpensive accounting system, or excuse me, it's estimating software. They buy inexpensive accounting systems too, but they'll buy an inexpensive estimating software. But once they reach a certain volume, then they start to run into problems because it doesn't have the capacity to help them grow. There are estimating systems out there that will grow with you, and it's just simple add-ons rather than having to find an entire new system that you have to relearn, okay? And this one I think is really important, is you have to have a relationship with the software seller. We value those relationships because we want you to be able to call and get advice at any moment and say, hey, how do I do this? Or this is what I'm thinking of doing, what do you recommend? That relationship is integral in the process of understanding your estimating software. Now, let me expand on that a little bit more. Is right here is this key estimating piece that connects to your core accounting software. And it gives you that enhanced Excel software that has pre-built reports. And so you can slice and dice that information however you want. In addition to that, it gives you the ability to bid based on assemblies or crews or work breakdown structures, as well as the ability to have that BIM need if your company so needs that in the future. You may not need it now, but a lot of architects now are going that route, and we may start seeing that out more. Well, we are starting to see that more and more in the field, or out on the subcontractor and the general contractor level at this point. Okay, and what this does for us is when when we get this in place, we have that fully integrated job site and office. So everything's talking to each other. So the project manager, regardless of whether he's in the office or the job site, he can see the data and he knows what's going on at the job every day. Now, the second thing I have is we use data to find solutions. And what I mean by that is so many times we just bid on a job based on the profit or loss of the most recent bid. We say, hey, we made money on it, so let's bid using those same numbers. Or we didn't make as much money as we'd have liked, so let's increase our numbers a little bit. But that's really not the way to do this. You can't control what you don't measure, and so we have to identify those things that we need to measure. And what I mean by that is we have to learn how to control our labor on a daily basis. Again, this goes back to a proper project management software, okay? We have to be able to get quick approvals. And the reason we get quick approvals is it takes us back to we don't have the slowdowns on the job. And I showed you that statistic, that $177.5 billion that we lose. That's from part of that, not all of it. Part of that's from slow approvals, right? What does that do when we have a slow approval? It slows the job down, okay? We have to have easy collaboration, the ability for not just project managers and supers to talk back and forth, but for the workforce on the job to understand what's going on with the plans, for key individuals that lead the crews to be able to have that information right in front of them at a moment's notice. You'll see in the picture here, the guy's got, it's probably an iPad or some sort of tablet. He can see that data and it's there. Whether it's just a set of plans electronically, he has that. And one of the things that makes that possible is we've gone to the cloud now in the construction world. We have to be able to access that information from anywhere. And it's really difficult now to not be able to get into the cloud from any job site. Unless you're way out in the boonies, you have access to the cloud. And with that, we can have daily job costing. We can improve our workflows because we know what we did yesterday and we know what we need to do today. And so from that, we can adjust our schedules. And we can, more importantly, we can manage our manpower and get us some real-time forecasting. Now, one of the things that I've experienced is a lot of customers that I go into when I first visit with them, they do this. When they estimate, they say, okay, here's my, and this is an example, each bucket maybe represents a division that they bid. Here's my estimated costs. And then they run the project, and at the end of the project, they say, well, my final costs seem to match that. Now, their total, let's say the total, each bucket at the top represented $2,000 each, and the total was $8,000. So their final cost, they say, okay, each bucket was $2,000 each, and we $8,000, and so we made money. Good, right? The problem is without the right data, we don't really know what those final costs were. And this is what it should really look like: is some buckets should be lower than others, some buckets should be overfilling. We should identify where those true costs are. So if a bucket is spilled out, if it's overflowed, or if it hasn't filled up enough, we can take that information back to the estimator and give them that information. So on the next bid, we can say, look, our labor was too high here, our labor was too low here, our materials, maybe we needed to adjust them a little bit. Material costs usually aren't the issue, it's usually labor. And that's where we need to focus on, is where is that production happening, where are we losing productivity, where are we gaining productivity, and build those repeatable systems within our construction company. And what's happened is these contractors who've improved these capabilities, they have a better way to analyze their field data. And the benefits they get from that, of course, are they have better budget and schedule compliance. That's a given, right? They get increase in productivity because they see where they're losing money and they can identify that. And what I mean by that is, if I were to go to any job site anytime, I can go talk. If I want to find out the issues on the job, I go to the heart of where the issues begin. And it's not necessarily their fault, but I go to the employees, the ones that are doing the work, the craftsmen, and I say, what's causing slowdowns on this job? They'll identify them to you. The problem is that information doesn't always make it up to the project manager level, or certainly not to the estimator level. Well, if we start to fix that with them because they really know what's going on, and it gets to the super and he can fix that because we've identified that, that increases our productivity. And of course, with all of that, we get improved safety. And that's been a result. So we're seeing EMODs with these companies start to drop because they've implemented these systems which make things more efficient. So that's kind of a really nice side benefit that's happening. Now, the third thing is, and this is a huge one, is we have to change the playing field. And what I mean by that is we're not going after that shotgun effect anymore. We were before, we were just saying, okay, let's just go bid everything we can and hope we land something. Well, we have to gain an unfair advantage. Okay, now that sounds like we're cheating. I don't mean to cheat. I'm just saying identify something that's going to distinguish you from everybody else. Okay, try and get away when you can. You won't always be able to do this, but when you can, get away from bidding the jobs that are low bid. Otherwise, you become a commodity. And so we have to do some of these things to gain an unfair advantage. The first one is we have to know our customer. If I'm a subcontractor, do I know the GC that I'm bidding with? Do I have different prices for different GCs? Okay. Do I know what the bid selection process is? If I'm a general contractor, are they going for low bid? Or maybe they're looking for some ideas, whether it's value engineering or schedule or whatever. What is their selection process? Okay. What makes you unique as a company? Can you separate yourself from your competition? And a big one is what is your relationship with the customer? I know when I first started contracting, I just bid jobs to get work and get my name out there, right? But once I established relationships, I didn't have to be the low bidder. Because all I had to do was be in the ballpark. And if I was in the ballpark, those relationships were enough to get me over the hump because they knew that difference in price was worth it, okay? We have to be competitive but not low, and that's what I mean by that, okay? What is the owner's exit strategy? And I share this is mostly for general contractors, but if it's a buy hold, if it's a building they're gonna hold on to, they may want more of the quality and the more of the value than if it's a building that they're just gonna turn around and flip, right? So if we understand that as a GC, we can look at, okay, maybe they're not looking at price, or maybe they're looking at, we can offer them better quality or lesser quality if they're going to flip this building real quick, right? And so we have to identify those ways to differentiate ourselves, okay? And really, again, what are their real concerns? Is it time? Is it budget? Is it quality? Is it the complexity of the job? It could be any of those factors. So keep that in mind as you think, okay, how do I change the playing field, right? Now, the fourth thing I want to talk about is we have to track our win-loss. And what I mean by that is tracking the win-loss of the jobs that we bid, right? Which types of projects do you bid that give you a higher percentage of win? I used to do the shotgun effect. And then I found out that there were certain projects that we just would win, not just win, but we would make good money on them. So we started saying, okay, let's focus on these projects. These were good projects. They were easy for us to manage. They distinguished us from our competition because our competition didn't like to do them. And so we always won those projects. And so in that process, we built relationships with those companies, and we were able to get away from the open bid, and it turned into more of a value bid. And so as long as, like I said before, if we were in the ballpark, they would give that to us. And because we had so much experience doing that type of work, that usually gave us quite a bit of edge in the bid process. Now, even if some of these were for municipalities, they liked the fact that we did what we did, okay? And so were you actively engaged with the customer prior to the bid? That's one of the things you want to do. Obviously, you're not going to get 100% of your bids, but what is your win-loss? Where are you winning? Where are you losing? And more importantly, on the ones you win, what are you making money on? And which ones aren't? So we need to track that win-loss. So this is what we find out. You're going to be surprised to see where you're winning most of your work and what the higher capture percentage is when you start doing this and following this process. Okay, now the projects with the highest percentage of win, and of course the most profitable projects, those are the two that we're looking for, and we have to identify those using data. The reality is if we're just using the shotgun approach and we're not doing true job costing, our data just says we made this much money on a job. It may not, and most likely isn't accurate. We have to get true job costing in place. We have to manage the projects on a daily, real-time basis. And when we do that, then we begin to see our increase in productivity. We get that huge profitability increase, and then we truly can identify the jobs that we should be bidding. So let me take that to the next level. The number 5 item is we need to differentiate ourselves from the competition. And I talked about this a little bit in changing the playing field, but to go even deeper is, are we offering value engineering when we can? Now, in low bid projects, we may not be able to. We might just have to go get the least expensive material we can offer. We have to get the least expensive labor we can offer. It is what it is, right? So when we get away from the low bid scenarios, we can begin the value engineering process. We can begin the collaborative design process. And I've got all sorts of stories I can share with you. We certainly don't have time today to discuss those, but we identify those ways to differentiate ourselves. What are some of the ways that you can differentiate yourself? And I know it's hard to think about, but if you go do that exercise as a company and you just brainstorm, what are the ways you can differentiate yourself? Here's 6 of them we have right here. What else is it? And if you think about, I have safety on there and you're thinking, okay, what does safety have to do with anything? Well, if you're able to get your EMOD down, how much better does that look in front of some of the larger contractors when they want people to, reach a certain level? They need certain safety qualifications for their own insurance, right? So think about the different ways you can differentiate yourself from your competition. And it could be as simple as, yeah, we're going to offer a better product at a higher price, but you're going to like that because of what we do. So these are the 5 strategies for better bidding. And so from there, I want to go into a brief overview of Sage Estimating. So let's go take a look at this. There's 2 pieces I want to share with you today. The first one here is Sage Estimating. And I have right here already pre-built an estimate, okay? And the other product I want to share with you is this eTakeoff. And I'm going to start over here on Sage Estimating because this is the spreadsheet piece that I was telling you. These spreadsheets don't have errors because this is all computer-based, right? It's all computer data. And I want to show you how easy it is. I'm not going to go too deep here, but just to give you a high-level view, I want to go create a new estimate. So I just go up here, I hit New Estimate, and it's going to come up and it's going to say, okay, what's the name of your new estimate? I'm just going to call it Estimate 12. I have already pre-installed a database, and this is a commercial GC one, but if I'm a masonry contractor, I could have maybe a masonry database, or I can have, you can see I've got all these different databases here. Here's a masonry one, here's a special masonry one, right? There's all kinds of databases I can have. Now, most companies just have 1 or 2, but because this is a demo account, I've got multiple databases. But you open your estimate, you choose your database, you click OK, and then the next page just gives me the ability to fill out a bunch of information related to the job. I may or may not need to fill this information out. Using a lot of internet here, so it's moving a little bit slow, but I'm not going to fill any of this out, but you can see I can enter project type and the estimator and so on and so forth. Okay, a lot of different fields I can fill out here. And once I do that, now I have my estimate and I'm starting my new estimate. And so from here, it literally is as simple as I'm going to go do a takeoff. So I want to do a quick takeoff and just do a quick item. So I'm going to check right in here, and let's just do some 4-inch. Let's just do some 4-inch split face block, okay? And you'll see it says, okay, I've got 1 unit basically. I've got a 100-foot wall. It's 10 foot tall. And then maybe there's some openings, and with those openings, there's lintel courses. So maybe every opening has 3 lintel courses, right? And then it says, okay, how many in this 100 by 10 foot wall, how many opening sizes are there? Different sizes. So maybe there's a 3.0, 7.0, and maybe there's a 10 by 10 door. So there's 2 sizes. What that does is it says, okay, let's talk about the first door type. I have 2 of those doors, and it's a 3.0, 7.0. And then I have another door here. I have 1 of these, and it's a 10 by 10. Now, I realize my wall's only 10 feet tall, but just for exercise sake, go with me here. And you can see how easily I enter that data. Once I hit OK, I close this, you'll see it's already calculated all my data here. So I know how many units I have of this 4-inch split face block, okay? So it's that easy. Now, this is just 1 unit. If I want to do what we call an assembly, and you may or may not be familiar with assemblies, but I want to show you how easy it is to an assembly takeoff. And what an assembly is, I'm going to stick with masonry here. I'm going to go down to 12-inch block. And what an assembly is, it consists of everything that goes in that wall. So this could be steel frames with gypboard and plywood and vapor barrier and paint and siding or stucco or whatever. In this case, I've got 12-inch block. I have 12-inch lintel block. There'll be mortar on this. There'll be sand that goes in the mortar. I've got grout. I've got cleaning of the wall. I've got Durawall. This one doesn't have rebar. I could have rebar in there just as well, or whatever. I could have insulation, anything. I could build out this assembly. Well, what's cool about this, it's as simple as it. Again, I just have 1 unit. I'm basing this on block units. It's a 100-foot wall. Let's say it's 20 feet tall. And my lintel courses are 4. There's 4 courses over each lintel. And my different masonry openings will stay with the two. There's two different types of openings. I've got two 3070 doors here, and then I have one 10 by 10 door here, okay? So I'm just gonna enter my way through this so you can see this. And then here, it asks me these questions. It says, okay, what type of block are you gonna use? Well, I'm gonna use, I need a split face. So I'm gonna type in a 5 right here. And then I need type S mortar. So I'm gonna enter a 2. I don't know if you can see that. It asks me what type of mortar. So it's type S, so I enter a 2 there. And then it says, okay, how often are you grouting? Are you doing it just the spacing required? And of course, you can set these up so it could be 32 inches on center, 16 inches on center, whatever. But in this wall, I'm just going to grout it solid, okay? And then am I cleaning both sides of the wall or just one? I'm cleaning both sides. And then I have Durawall in here, which is every 16 inches on center. So that's correct. Now, I've already put in my measurement here. And so this is for one wall, and I hit this plus button here, and I hit OK, and you'll see how it's calculated down here, all of that data. And I just hit OK right here. And let me go right here to my estimate, and you'll see that all of a sudden now, here is everything I have. Here's my 4-inch block from before. Here's my 12-inch block right here from that last assembly. So this assembly includes everything. I could have just as easily done this on this 4-inch block wall, and now I need to go back on this wall, and I need to figure the Durawall and the mortar, and if there's grout or brick ties or whatever, right? The point is that how quickly was I able to create that assembly and that takeoff of a 100-foot wall that's 10 foot tall or whatever we did. It included the openings, it included the lintels. If I'd have windows in there, it would have included those. So you can see how quickly that can be created, and it's just a matter of a few clicks here. Excuse me. Now, beyond that, I want to just show you quickly, and I could go way into this, but I want to just show you the different views. We have right here in Takeoff, we have this thing called sequences. Now this is darkened out because I'm not currently on this, but I'm going to go to this demo estimate right here. There it is. So it appears there. And these are the different sequences I can create. Now, I can create, if I open this up, I can create all kinds of different sequences and customize these. So if I want to sequence my job by group or phase, by assembly, by combined assemblies, if I want to identify this as maybe different floors or locations on the job, or whatever it is, if I wanted to say, by buildings, however I want to lay this out, or I can create as many of these as I want, okay? I can create these sequences, and what this does is you can see my takeoff here that was done with an assembly takeoff. This is in a group system. Here's the assembly takeoff, okay? This is all the footings. Here's the straight walls. You can see as I scroll through this, how all this was done in assembly format, okay? Here's a floor assembly. So this is the same data. All I've done is I've extrapolated the data into a different spreadsheet. I don't have to go and create all these spreadsheets. I just tell it what I want, and it creates it for me, okay? If I had floors or buildings or roof lines or whatever I wanted to do here, I can create any sort of, and it's really unlimited, any sort of way of looking at this project and measuring that data. Okay, if I wanted to just say, I just want to see 12-inch block, I can create a sequence for that, and it would segregate everything that I want. Okay, now, not to spend too much time on this again, but I want to just show you how easy it is to create the bid from this. Okay, so I go to the totals page here, and you'll see this is all lumped together because I don't have a specific, but I've got 152,000 almost of materials and labor in here. And then I get to set up my different conditions, my general conditions, if I have warranties, different fees, architect's fees, insurance, profit, sales tax. I can even create new ones if I want. I just click right here and I say, okay, let's insert an add-on. What kind of add-on do I want to insert? Let's do a surety bond, okay? So I've just created a surety bond one, and I can even change that number. Maybe it's 10 grand or whatever, right? I can change that number. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to delete that, but I can change those numbers really easy. I can make them allocatable. So on the bid, that number is spread throughout all of these numbers. It's not even a line item on here, which is really nice sometimes in change orders, right? I want to have my hidden markups, things like that. So I can allocate them or I don't have to allocate them. And then it's as simple as when it's time to go build a report, I just go up to my reports and I have all these different methods that I can build a spreadsheet. No, I don't want to save those changes. And let me just show you, this is just one example of many. And what we do here is with Sage Estimating, we take your estimate format that you use, decide if you want to make any changes to it, and we basically build that within Sage Estimating. So the way your estimate goes to whoever it is you're bidding to now does not change. We still present it in that same way. But here's a preview, and you can see how easy it is to, let me zoom in on this a little bit, but how easy it is to pull this data into an estimate in the format that I want. So this one's really broken down. Maybe I didn't want to break it down to that level. Maybe I just wanted to do it by concrete. I can do that. Okay, I can build these estimates in whatever format I want, but because the data is in there, Sage has been designed to create and extrapolate that data and put it in whatever format you want. It's really that simple. Okay, I don't want to oversimplify this, but it really is. The key to this is letting us train you up on this and show you how easy it is to build this. By the way, you can see I can leave this open while I continue to change numbers in my bid. And there's so many more things I can do in here, including I can go in and just increase my labor price right here. If I wanted to, adjust this column or whatever, I want to adjust it by maybe 1% and maybe 5%, right? It'll make that adjustment, okay? It's that simple. So I can make these changes as I need. It really gives me a very robust system to bid projects and make it really easy. Now, this is if I'm doing the takeoff and the measurement from somewhere else. In addition to this, I want to show you the eTakeoff tool. And what eTakeoff does is I'm going to open this up right here. eTakeoff allows me to simply open a new bid right here. I click new. When I open new, it's going to ask me to upload a new folder. And in that folder will be from your desktop that set of drawings. And they don't have to be PDF. PDF works really good. They can be any format. And once those drawings come in, I upload it and I download them. And so you'll see this particular project is a La Quinta Inn. And you'll see I have all my drawings loaded in here. You can see I scroll through all these drawings. The darkens or the bold ones mean that I've done measurements on these. So if you look through these, I've already done some takeoff on these. And the way this works is I can link this eTakeoff to my Sage Estimating right here. And so once I do my takeoff, it will pull out the data for me, and then I tell it to sync that data over Sage Estimating, and I can follow that same format of that assembly if I want. So for example, I want to just show you how easy this is. So I've already done a takeoff on the first floor, but let's say, and here's a generic color, so I'm just going to use this generic one, but let's say this is 12-inch block, and I identify that as 12-inch block, and they want to build a 12-inch block wall all the way around this building. I just click on these points, right? Whatever they are. And I could do this with any wall here, right? And I hit enter, and you'll see it says there's 776 feet because up here's my scale. It also allows you to do the scale and set up the scale in the drawing. Or I could go right here, and let's say we want to put a wall right here. I could do that wall right there too if I want. Let me click on that. Okay, so I want to put a wall, I want to measure this wall. It's that easy. And by the way, it will do radiuses too. I'm not going to go into that because it's a couple clicks of the button to show you. But there it is. So I've just done this takeoff here, and I hit enter, and you'll see now I've got two walls in here. And you can see how easy that is. And then I have the ability to go in and push this information right here back into my takeoff. Now, that same assembly system would be set up in here, and I would go through that. So I don't have to go through here and figure out what all the openings are. As I'm doing this takeoff, I'm going to enter those prior to doing this linear takeoff right here. And by the way, you can see how easy it is to delete this measurement. Okay, I screwed up. I want to delete it. And then I can also just scroll right in. I can zoom in on any of this. Okay, zoom back and forth. I'm sure this is moving a little bit slower because we're going across the internet here and through a GoToMeeting. But you can see that, how easy it is. So I can zoom in and out. So if I want to go do my takeoffs, on these tables, I can do that. And something that's really cool about this is it has this pattern search here. So I can go, in fact, it's probably best to express this down here in the electrical drawings. And by the way, I can do elevation drawings and takeoffs from that. There's nothing you can't do, but in an electrical drawing right here, here's a great example, is I can, let me move this so you guys can see this right here. So these patterns here, so these represent this triangle, blue triangle represents a ceiling mounted fixture. And what you do is you identify the pattern you want to use, you hover over that item and you click it, and then it will go through and it will do that pattern search throughout the entire project, all of this page of plans, I should say, not all the plans. It'll through all of this page, and will identify, you know, it could do these outlets right here, right, or these switches throughout this entire set of plans and identify those. Now, the cool thing is it also has kind of a catch, because every now and then the architect draws, like right here, this switch right here has been drawn over. So it would come up, you would get a pop-up that says, is this switch a switch, right? And you would say yes. Okay, so anything that it questioned, it would identify. This one, it would do the same thing too. It will say, hey, is this really what this is? So you're not going to count something you don't need, and you're not going to miss something you do need. And again, this data all comes right here. And when I tell it to bridge over, there's a bridge in eTakeoff that allows me to bridge over and push that data right in here into Sage Estimating. So again, my takeoff becomes very quick, it's very robust. And the cool thing is in eTakeoff, it's possible to set it up so maybe somebody gives me pages, you know, A1, A2, A3, and then somebody else gets pages A4, 5, and 6. It'll identify that on the bid, so I know who to hold accountable if numbers are done or not done, or so on and so forth. So it's not just some haphazard format. It's very robust in its ability to get you the measurements you want. So I've taken a little bit more time than I wanted to on this, but I wanted to give you a good idea of kind of what that looks like. So just to get back to our slide deck here, a couple things to show you. So beyond that, it has the ability to do BIM stuff. We work with Navisworks, Assemble, and then of course I showed you eTakeoff Dimension, and that all goes through the eTakeoff bridge, which is part of this, and that'll push that data straight into Sage Estimating. Sage Estimating has been around a long time. It's updated consistently through the year, and over 60% of the ENR top 400 use Sage, which is really kind of a, you know, a feather in our hat of how popular this product is. And of course, we have a lot of small companies that use it too, okay? But at the end of the day, this is what we want to help you with. And this is what I do, is I want to help companies come up with the ability to estimate with real data by installing and setting them up on a platform that gives them full visibility to their accounting, full visibility to their project management, and then take that data and use it in their estimating system so they can have a much more robust, much more accurate job costing system. And at the end of the day, because everything's in the cloud, everything's on paper, on software, we eliminate the paperwork. We're not chasing change orders by paper. We're not chasing RFIs by paper. We're not, we can even eliminate the paper plans. I'm an old school guy. I think I would still always have a copy of a hard copy of plans at the job site and probably on my desk if I'm a project manager. But I know that much of that does exist now electronically. And so we can do that. And it's possible, there's not one system that does it all. However, there's one system that will allow you to put all the other systems together. And that's what Sage is really good at, is they've said, look, we don't know everything, but we're going to make sure that everything will connect with us so that we can give you the ability to run your job from estimate all the way to punch list and close out on one system that's fully integrated. And so I'm going to go ahead now and look and see if we have any questions. It doesn't look like we do. So thank you for your attendance. My number is there, my email information is there. Please reach out to me. And like I said, if you have interest in getting a specific demo for you and your company, we can actually upload a set of plans for you. We can show you how to do a takeoff on them. We can show you how the estimate would look. In fact, we can take one of your estimates. You can make it generic, right? We don't want to give away your numbers, but and show you how we can build that specific estimate to you. And we're happy to do that work and show you how robust this system is. And also, along with the accounting systems, we're happy to help you in that process also, to make your system more robust, to work better with your project management system, as well as with your estimating system. So thanks again for your time, and I appreciate it. Everybody have a good day.